Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the rocksandstocksnews.com website. Got a special guest in Joey Freeze. She runs Holly Gold Corp. I hope I said that right. She's the CEO and president. I've known Joey for many years. She has a lot of experience, great geologist, and I think they have an undiscovered gem here in Holly Gold. Joey, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks very much for hosting us.
Did I get the name right?
Well, to be honest, there's several ways of saying it. Mexicans usually say chali gold.
Charlie.
So that's our more common way of pronouncing it. But a lot of other Spanish speakers would say jali gold, as you said.
Yeah, because X sounds as a J, Holly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
So it's been a
Considering
learning
I'm here in
experience.
Mexico, I thought I'd use that version, but for the English, I'll use Charlie from now on.
Yeah,
So, well, let's get right into it, Joey. Before we did this interview over the weekend, I had a chance to do my research on Chali, and a couple things really stood out. One is your El Oro project in Mexico, and the other is your stuff in Newfoundland. Why don't we start with the Mexico stuff?
sure.
What stood out the most to me is it looks like a project that's wide open for exploration. Only two of the 50 known veins have seen any work on them. And knowing what I do about these vein systems down here and the zonation of grade at depth,
Yeah.
it just stands out like a sore thumb that you've got plenty of exploration potential on those projects. Why don't we start there?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we got into El Oro because Gold Corp, which was still Wheaton River Minerals, bought Luisman for the Tile Tita mine, and Ian Telford didn't like exploration, so they looked for juniors to do the exploration, and then if something was found, they could back in. So we actually were chosen as one of seven to participate in an exploration contest, and meaning take people to site, and the Luisman people would judge who they thought would be the best at helping find ounces. And Larry Cornsey and Michael Castleman from our team went, and we won the contest. So the deal was the deal. We had to spend $10 million to get 70% interest, five for the first 50, five for the next 30, 25. And then with time, we managed to work our exploration that they didn't back in, and we renegotiated the back in. And so we ended up with 100% when Gold Corp actually left most of Mexico in 2017. But what we found in most of our drilling, which was between 2010 and
Before we
2012.
go to that,
Yeah.
so what did you have to do for the 100%? Is that done?
We issued another 5 million shares. So sorry, we got to 70% by spending $10 million, and then we issued 5 million shares for the other 30.
So it's all done. You got
Yes.
100% now.
Yeah.
No back ends, no royalties, nothing?
There are some odd royalties here and there, but they have a cap on them. So
Okay. Okay. So let's get on to why you acquired it.
yes. Well, a vein system that had known 50 over 50 veins, and two of those produced 8 million ounce gold equivalent, and one of those 4 million ounces gold and 44 million ounces silver. Now that's a rich vein.
Very
Only mined over an average of 200 meters vertical. And the understanding in the day for when Luisman had been exploring, was that your typical low sulfidation epithermal vein system precipitates gold over an average of 200 meters, gold and silver, I should say. And then under that, you usually get base metals. So they figured, okay, it's mined out. But during the interim, many people in Mexico were recognizing what they call stacked boiling systems, or just a continuous boiling system. So just goes up and down the column. And so what we drilled
So
targets.
that's indicative of a long-lived mineralizing system.
Sorry. Exactly. So you're not just getting your gold, silver here and then your base metals. You're getting gold and silver over time, being precipitated. And so
So
opportunity.
that window of boiling zone is much, has potential to be much deeper than 200 meters.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. And so what we initially drilled under the four main veins known and found that the indication was that we weren't out of mineralization by any stretch. And then we started concentrating on El Oro and Veta Verde, which were the two biggest producers. And then we really focused in on San Rafael because we ended up with a bunch of targets that Placer Dome had delineated as being the first 1 million ounce, potential. And we focused on those. And what we managed to do was prove that mineralization, gold and silver mineralization, extended up to 500 meters below old workings. And
Wow.
could be deeper. We never did get in.
700 meters in total.
Yeah, yeah. And we never did
Wow.
get into a solid base metal zone. So, so that was very exciting, but we didn't come up with a resource. So the market, became less interested. But what we did find was that we believe there are cross-cutting. So the cross-cutting controls to the high grade. So the veins strike northwesterly. The controls to the high grade cross cut in a northeasterly.
Before you go on to that, I just want to share a story with you. I've spent a lot of time looking at epithermal vein systems because I'm down here in Mexico. I'm only 50 miles from the Mag Silver's
Right.
Juanicipio, and about 20 miles from my house is a mine called Milagros, and it had two parallel veins that came to surface. They mined those, and then when they got deeper, they did a cross cut to connect the two veins, and they found another vein that was phenomenally high grade. It was, if you put it in today's terms, it would be about $300,000 a ton rock.
Wow.
So that's one of the great things about these epithermal vein systems, is that this was completely blind. And I was drilling a epithermal vein system here in Mexico, and what I kept in mind was the potential to find these hidden veins. And so if we drill through a vein and we'd find alteration, we'd keep going. And we found multiple veins that way. So not only is it important to do that deeper drilling for the known vein mineralization, the cross-cutting structures, but also the potential to find hidden veins that could be fabulously valuable as well.
Absolutely. Very, very correct.
So I'll let you get back to your cross-cutting structure part of the
Right.
story.
Well, what we found in a series of our drill holes, which were three of them, that we drilled three to get to the same target because the first two we lost in old workings, but the third one intersected extension of the San Rafael vein. But all three of those holes also discovered high grade, both gold and silver in different intervals.
Orientations?
Yeah, in two other veins sitting above the vein we were looking for. Exactly what you're talking about. And also disseminated gold and silver in the volcanics overlying.
Sort of
And
bleeding out.
yes,
Okay.
and and so we in this particular zone we know there's some kind of vertical component controlling the high grade that isn't just within one vein, but it's cross-cutting many veins. And so
Okay.
it's given us a
So
huge.
that opens up all of your veins.
Exactly.
Okay.
And of course we drilled parallel to those that structure. So you're going to miss it with your drilling. So now we obviously want to get back in and drill obliquely so that we can cross cut both the veins and the high grade controls.
Excellent. And wow, I mean, when I started reading all that, it just opened my eyes up because the amazing thing to me is how underexplored, like for example, that Milagro story. They didn't, never drilled it, never did any geophysics. They found the outcropping veins. They started underground mining. The price of silver changed. They left. No exploration. If that was in Canada or Nevada or anywhere else, they would have Swiss cheese that whole entire area and done extensive exploration. I can't believe how not only is a lot of areas underexplored, but even known veins are
Right.
underexplored in particular projects, and that sounded exactly what Xali has here.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal what could be there. Over 30 grams per ton gold and 300 and some odd grams per ton silver in places
Can you
that,
imagine, Joey, 8 million ounces of production
yeah.
and it's underexplored? They probably never even drilled those other veins. How did they find them? Outcrop?
No, it's all underground.
Oh,
Yeah.
so no real drilling.
No, the El Oro gold. Now the El Oro, it's a district we own. Excuse me. In the west, there are veins that were mined more for silver. They outcrop, but the two biggest gold producers have younger volcanics covering them, so they were found underground. Now there was a window of the San Rafael or a sister vein to the San Rafael that was exposed, but everything else was covered by the volcanics. And Veta Verde, which produced 3 million ounce gold equivalent, was discovered entirely blind, just by somebody drifting from the other side of the mountain saying, hey, if they found so many riches on that side, let me come in from this side and see what I can find. And lucky for him, he hit the vein right in a bonanza zone, and I think he paid off 2 years of drifting in 1 month. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
And these things remain underexplored.
Yeah.
All of the veins and the potential to find more blind veins.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
he just found it purely by luck.
Yeah.
With the truth machine in there, you can see alteration that will tell you to keep going.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, what is the game plan? Are you to move this forward? Because now we've got gold performing much better. Everybody's looking for more gold stories. There
Yeah.
isn't a lot of great ones around. 8 million ounces was produced here, so we know it's a rich system, and it's got a cluster of veins that remain underexplored.
Yeah. Well, we went into a quieter time period between 2013 and let's call it 2019 or 2020, and we got into two opportunities for cash flow. One is tailings, so we optioned those from the municipality, and I should say to wait out the time period when people weren't spending too much money on, deep drilling targets. So the tailings we optioned out. We optioned it from the municipality, and then we ended up optioning it out to a group of 4 engineers who have a company called Sun River Gold. They've been working on it for several years, but they have paid us $500,000 over those years. But they should be in production by the end of March, and they've told me if not by the end of March, then certainly within months of that.
Are those
They're,
Mexican guys?
no, they're Americans, but they have a lot of experience in Mexico,
Okay.
and they've just raised $6.5 million to put into production. So they've got some pretty healthy looking cash flow analyses that convinced investors to put up that money.
And that was based on what kind of work?
Well, that's first of all, we did a resource there, so we have 120,000 ounces gold and 3 million ounces silver, and that's an inferred resource that we did. Now they took that and just started working on their own metallurgy and ways of, because it's not just leaching alone didn't seem to be that easy to get the rest of the gold, and the grade on that is just under 3 grams per ton gold and 75 grams per ton silver. So very high grade. I understand the process they'll be using is flotation.
Okay.
And
Is
so,
this fairly nuggety,
yes,
coarse?
yeah.
Okay.
Fine, fine grain, but it is free gold by itself. Yeah.
Oh, so you can use gravity, no problem.
Well, I'm not, I think some gravity and some
Leaching.
flotation. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
make a
So
con. So
what?
we're hoping, well, I mean, unfortunately, it's not 43101, so I can't mention the numbers that have been shown to us, but I believe that, well, they will make a nice profit, of course. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to raise $6.5 million or convince people to put that up. And we get 5% of NPI for life of mine, but we also get the first $1.5 million that the municipality would get. So really, for the first few years, I would assume we'll get more like a 13% NPI, and then once we've got the 1.5 of
That would be sort of municipal taxes that don't go
it's
to.
actually because the municipality owned the tailings, they did the deal with us, and they get an 8% NPI.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
but
So for
because
the
we,
first, how long is that? Year and a half? Did you say? What was the term?
um, how long will they be in production, or when will
No,
they be
how
in production?
long will you get the extra
Oh,
8%?
we the first $1.5 million.
Okay, okay. So, okay. So the
So
first $1.5 million worth of production, you get 13% of that.
worth of we actually get the first $1.5 million that the municipality would have gotten.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
on
okay.
their
So
NPI.
I see.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
reason is because we let them use our old workings for a museum, and they've done some work in there that has mitigated our use of them for now.
Very
So
creative, Joey.
yeah, so we're really hoping. We understand they're almost permitted. They've got all the the equipment lined up, and so they anticipate being in production, as I say, by the end of March.
So although you can't report the numbers, you can certainly report the checks.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So those should start maybe as early as April, May?
I think within 3 6 months of them getting into production, but
Okay.
they show their analysis paying us pretty quickly. So yeah.
Okay, so do they recover their CapEx first, or how does that work?
I don't believe all of it. No, they have to. Um, I the numbers they gave me are pretty general.
Yeah,
Um, so, but
okay.
it looks like we would be getting cash fairly quickly. Yeah.
So there's a potential to cover some of your exploration costs. I mean, down here in Mexico, drilling is very cheap.
Yeah, that was the goal of why we did that. And then we have some Western Mexico opportunities as well. But the markets have turned a bit, and so I mean, our share price is still fairly low, but we're really hoping to get more excitement and be able to get back drilling at El Oro sooner than waiting for cash flow. But in any case, at least we have both opportunities going on.
Well, I mean, if somebody's looking for a gold exploration story, I mean, I really like the sounds of it. And I've got a fair bit of experience down here in Mexico, and all of that cluster of veins being underexplored, and 8 million ounces of gold having been produced out of just mostly one vein. Is
Yeah,
it
well, it's
correct?
two, eight out of two, so five in one and three in the other. But still,
So, and those still need to be, now you've got a window of about 700 meters on every vein that really needs to be looked at more closely.
that's correct. Yeah, there's no bottom that we know of.
And they're fairly close together, so you might be able to tag two or three in one hole. Is that right?
The main producers are not that close together, but yes, there are several veins that are close together. So you're correct. We did already have three holes into three that intersected three veins. Yeah.
Wow. So you get a cross section there of uh, one vein you might get in 200 meters, the next at 400 meters, the next at 6 or 7. So that in a way has a ability to prove up that bigger window.
Well, and that's what I feel it will really be the catalyst for better market value for us is proving that we've got like a Juanicipio. And we've got budding tonight in those overlying volcanics that have gold in them. We've got budding tonight, and that's what Peter McGaw told me was one of the indicators they used for their target holes on Juanicipio.
Yeah, because that was a blind vein.
Yeah.
And that they had to use some crafty exploration techniques to find it.
That's correct. Yeah.
But again, in about 1,000 meters from Juanicipio is the cluster of veins that made the town of Fresnillo, which has been in production for over 500 years.
Correct. Yeah.
So
you're
it's
that
not unheard of to find these clusters of veins that can.
No, exactly.
And that's all silver. You're not talking about gold at Juanicipio and Fresnillo.
Yeah, correct.
Wow, Joey,
Style
that's
system,
a
but
hell of
different
a
commodity.
story. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
I can't believe more people aren't paying attention to it. You guys only have a $7.94 million valuation.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's sticking out like a sore thumb, just asking to be drilled aggressively.
Yeah.
So I hope your phone starts ringing more, Joey. I'll have to scrape together some money next time you're doing a financing and participate. I love that story.
All right, sounds good.
It's right up my alley. Epithermal veins, boiling zones, ability to find blind veins. And you never know, one of those blind veins could be another Juanicipio.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. And sounds like you're right beside a town, so infrastructure is great.
Yeah, we're in the town of El Oro where they already have a palace and an opera hall built by the turn of the century when the mines were in production. So
Wow. Wow. And you guys allowed them to make a museum out of one of your workings?
yes.
That's been done here in Zacatecas too. There's the Mount Bufa. And that was a former mine that now you can go and eat there. You can check out the mines. They have tours, the whole works. And it's a very significant revenue generator for the city of Zacatecas.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
So I guess that's the same kind of thing they're going to do at El Oro.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The gold. So, okay, Joey, that's your stuff in Mexico. Newfoundland has become very exciting with the discoveries by Newfound Gold, and even long before that, you had the Valentine Lake structure.
Right.
And
Marathon Gold.
Marathon Gold is working their way through the permitting. 3 million ounces of gold with the ability to get bigger. It's right along that Valentine Lake structure, and several gold showings is how they found it. And you guys have the ground right to the south of the resource.
That's correct.
And
3
the
kilometers.
other thing that caught my attention is you have sort of a fork in the road where two structures meet. That is the perfect scenario for rock preparation to allow the fluids to come up.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to us about that project, Joey.
Well, it's interesting because we were in Newfoundland many, many years ago looking for what was thought to be the another Carlin trend. And Larry Cornsey, of course, being on our board, has discoveries named after him in Carlin. So he brought us into Newfoundland, and we had a lot of good showings and such, but in the end, weren't successful enough, so we moved on. But somebody came to me not long ago, I guess in 4 or 5 months ago and asked if we might be interested in going back to Newfoundland. And I said, well, certainly for the right property. And so they presented this to us, and we sure liked the area it was in. Looked at previous work, and there was really high grade gold in tills, and so we thought, well, why not? And what we were able to
And
find,
those, that high grade gold, was that pristine grains?
I don't have that information. I'd
Okay,
like to know that myself, but I don't have that information. I just have because it was done a while ago.
okay.
But what we did find is that we also have near a couple of those sites, there is exposure of quartz veining in felsic intrusives in the felsic sediment and volcanic rocks, and um, and there is up to zero point 0.4 grams gold in bedrock on our property. So we've recently been back in and followed up, around the tills and looked for more outcrops and collected about 20 samples that are in for analysis at this point. So I think it's very prospective ground. The geophysics certainly shows linear features that are paralleling the shear zones that we believe are there. And so, and then of course to the south and east of us is another junior that's you've been looking at.
Yeah, they're a sponsor of my website called True Gold.
Yeah,
And
and they're
they, again, at the southern end of their property, that shear zone has a kind of a double hinge. And they went in there just recently and did some drilling, and they hit some visible gold
I heard that.
right at where one of those hinges are. So it's a pretty good sign that these are structurally controlled mineralization.
Yeah, and we all assume that. So it's a very exciting place to be.
Yeah, and that, if you look at the marathon's zone, the shear zone kind of has a bit of a bend to it. And, those flexures are often a good point to be, preparing the rock or these
Yeah,
hinges or these where they meet each other. And you
right.
guys have that on your property where two structures come together.
Yeah, they create dilation zones where the fluids can deposit more mineralization. Yeah.
Have you done any sampling around that fork in the road of those
I
two?
believe so. The 20 samples that are in there were focused on some of that. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got two projects to roll your sleeves up on and start getting the truth machine out there fairly soon, Joey.
Yes, exactly. We have some other things in western Mexico that are near surface, and we have our ties into a plant there, so we could get some production out of that as well. But that again, that's for some cash flow, but it's not the catalyst for growth for the company.
Right, corridor of veins in Mexico and in
Newfoundland,
Newfoundland.
that's the catalyst, as we know. Exploration discoveries, that's what moves stocks like ours, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So how's the cash position? Do you have any cash, or are you going to
No,
raise?
we actually are. I was going to mention to you, we're actually doing a financing right now. So if you want to participate, be more than happy to.
What are the terms on that
It's six
placement?
cents with a half warrant at 12 cents for
Oh,
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Good. Well, we'll have to talk.
Okay.
I might be able to scrape a few pennies together.
Okay. Perfect.
And so I guess once you get some money, then you're going to prioritize and you're going to wait until you get these results back uh, from
Newfoundland.
the sampling that you did in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And depending on how quickly you can get things together in Mexico, that's probably where you can drill soonest, right? Year-round exploration kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. We're working on our 3D models and our targeting for El Oro. And probably we could be doing something a little faster in Newfoundland because I don't think it would cost as much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So a smaller program, but
Right.
quicker to get to it.
Yeah, because the drilling would be closer to surface, not as deep holes.
right. But even at Mexico, you're only talking 2 to 700 meter holes.
Yeah.
That's
No, that's very true. It's not a lot. No.
that's not a lot. And if it's anything like Zacatecas, your all-in cost here in Zac. By the way, if you need a driller, I might be able to help you out.
Okay.
He works for us at $100 all-in costs per meter. That's US dollars.
Right. That's pretty good.
It's great. That's about as cheap as you get it these days anywhere in the world.
No kidding. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And if you need qualified people, I know qualified people down here, Joey, and we're right here in Mexico. In fact, the geologist for Advanced Gold, where I'm the CEO, he ran the Geological Survey of Mexico for 30 years. He's got like an encyclopedic knowledge of Mexican geology. So maybe I can hook you two up as well. Maybe because we're here, you don't have to worry about COVID and stuff like that. And,
Right. Yeah. No.
drillers, QPs, experienced geologists, whatever you need, Joey.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Excellent.
right. Okay, so well, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Joey, was there anything else you think we didn't cover
No.
that you'd like
No.
to?
No, I think that's great.
Well, I hope you get some money real fast, Joey, because those two sets of targets in Newfoundland and in Mexico just are begging to be drilled.
Yes, they are. Definitely.
And you know what you're doing with that truth machine.
I think so.
And you've got a team around you as well that know what they're
Yes,
doing.
we do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to close it off, Joey. Just hang in and
Okay.
we'll have a chat afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors and do your homework before making any investment decisions. But I will say I did my homework before talking to Joey today. And I think we're on the exact same page as far as the exploration potential. In Mexico, as we talked, they've got a cluster of epithermal veins that are underexplored, where 8 million ounces of gold was produced in the past. And shockingly to me, if you had something like this in Nevada, for example, or Alaska, or the Golden Triangle of British Columbia, those veins would be Swiss cheesed by now. The fact that they're wide open for exploration is tremendously exciting. Plus, Newfoundland is very exciting. They're right by a 3 million ounce deposit. It's on the same structure. They're right beside them. And the company only has an $8 million valuation. That is very cheap, considering the quality of the projects. And I think when they get some money together, they can start banging some holes into these targets. And I think they're going to be able to generate a lot of good news from that drilling. So again, I invite you. Xali is how you say it, but it's spelled Xali. And I believe, Joey, the website is xaligold.com or
Yes.
what's the website?
Yep. Xaligold.com.
So that's xaligold.com. Their stock symbol is XGC. Check out their website, do your homework. I think it'll stand out like a sore thumb, like it did to me. Projects that just are begging to be drilled, and we're in a better market for gold exploration in Mexico and in Newfoundland. And I think it won't be long before you see some drilling out of these guys. So do your homework, check out their website. We'll talk to you soon.